Straight Life by Art and Lori Pepper. Okay, here's the latest episode of Straight Life. In the previous episode, Art entered San Quentin, found a couple of friends there, and got drunk on homebrew. In this episode, he meets another friend, gets a lot of information about San Quentin, and doesn't like the place. Here's his narrative. All of a sudden, I heard this clanging of gates. It was a horrible sound, and I woke up and looked down and saw this toilet with vomit all over it. My cellmate was still asleep. I couldn't understand how he could still be sleeping with all the noise that was going on. I threw some ice water on my face, and they racked the gates and called us out, and we went to the mess hall. The coffee tasted good. After we ate, they took us to the clothing room, and we got our blues, a blue shirt and pants made out of a kind of denim, and brown shoes, Santa Rosas, old man type shoes, with the line across the toe. I was very happy to be out of the jumpsuit. I felt less conspicuous, but I found out later it wasn't the clothes that made me conspicuous. I learned that even with 6,000 people, I couldn't just blend in with the crowd. Everyone knew we had just drove up. One of the guards told us some of the details. He told us what we should and should not do. He told us you get 1 to life for attempted escape. He pointed out the walkways and told us that the guards were all expert shots. He said, just do right and everything will be okay. It so happened we got there on a Friday. So my first day was a Saturday, and we were more or less free until Monday. When I arrived, I'd seen several people I'd known before, and when I walked out of the clothing room, here was a real good friend, little Ernie Flores. He was one of those prematurely gray people. His hair had turned almost completely. His bone structure was Indian, but he was very small and dapper. He saw me and he said, "Hey, Art." I looked at my clothes. They were old, wrinkled blue denim. He was wearing the same thing, but it was that slightly different color, and he was all pressed, real sharp. Instead of the Santa Rosas, he had loafers. They were shined. He looked great. The last time I'd seen him on the streets, he'd had a lung operation and he was really messed up. Now he was healthy and clean, and it made me feel good to see him like that. He said, "Come on, I'll show you around." He noticed me looking at his clothes and at my own, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about that, man. I'll fix you up. Come on." Little Ernie was working in the employees' dry cleaning plant. He was the lead man there. We had some small talk and walked around, and he said, "It's not as bad as it seems. I know how you feel because I felt the same when I first drove up, drug and panicked. But you've got friends here, and everything will be all right." We walked around the big yard, and he showed me the canteen line. You can buy a book with ducats in it, coupons for however much money you draw, which you use to pay for things from the canteen. You get a new book each month, and no one can steal it from you because only you can cash your own ducats. You can buy these books if someone sends you money, or you can have someone that's in the jail put money on your books, or you can get a job and get paid. Eventually, I got a job paying $6 a month, but the prison deducted $1.80 from that for inmate welfare fund, which they said was for movies and canteen, leaving me with $4.20 a month. Still a lot of money. Little Ernie showed me the big yard. The cell blocks formed the walls of the yard, and right in the middle was a tower with a shed on it and a walkway so the guards could walk out to it with rifles. I looked around this big area, and everywhere I looked, I saw groups of people, and I could see that they were like cliques. A group of Mexicans, a group of blacks, a group of whites, each group talking and all kinds of action going on. In the middle of the yard, to the left of the shed, was a bunch of picnic tables. I saw guys standing around them, real intent. I walked over with Ernie and he said, "This is the domino tables." They played dominoes because cards weren't allowed. They made their own dominoes out of plastic and wood and glass, and they were beautiful. They played for cigarettes. That was money in prison. And I learned that many people were killed because of debts incurred at the domino tables. In San Quentin, you could work or not work. If you chose not to work, you'd just wander around the yard. Those were the guys that played dominoes. Those were the guys that if any dope came in, they had some action. They were living just like on the streets, hustling and scuffling. Ernie said, "Let me show you the lower yard." The lower yard has a football field, a baseball diamond, and handball and basketball courts. We started down the stairs, and as we went down, I saw a guy coming up, and he looked really strange. He looked like a ghost. He had his hands on his stomach, and I saw that there was blood running out all over his hands. As we got close to him, he let go of his stomach to grab the rail because he was starting to fall, and he was just covered with blood. I said to Ernie, "Oh, man." And I started to go to the guy's aid, but Ernie grabbed me and said, come on, hurry." He was frantic. We got down the stairs, and as we reached the bottom, I looked back, and here was the guard on the walkway above the stairs with his rifle pointed at the guy. Ernie said, "Now, if we had stayed there to try to help him, we would have been right in the middle of this shit. There's no telling what might have happened. I know it's cold. We haven't been brought up that way. But you have to mind your own business and keep walking." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, those things happen here all the time. Somebody shanked the guy. They get a piece of metal from the machine shop and sharpen it into a dagger, and they put tape over the handle part." We got to the lower yard, and I was feeling kind of sick. And Ernie said, "Now, dig these cats here." There were a bunch of courts where the Mexicans were playing handball, and there were these 2 full-sized basketball courts. I saw these guys playing basketball that looked like Mexicans, but they weren't. And then I realized that they were righteous Indians, American Indians. Ernie said, "Dig these guys and get a good look at them. And if you ever find yourself in any close proximity to them, get away as soon as you can. Never let them see you staring at them. Never bump into them. Watch yourself because they're dangerous. They hate everyone but themselves." You stay in D section for a while, and then you're moved to another section. I was kept in the South Block and moved up to the 5th tier. Twice a week, they'd have a shower run. They'd call out, "Showers." You take your blues off. They rack the gates and run you downstairs to the showers in sections. There's about 10 shower heads in these open showers, and there's this huge number of men in line waiting to get in. So as you go into the shower, you throw your underwear into a bin, and then you try to figure out some way to get under a shower head. There might have been 5 or 6 or 10 people to a shower head. So you got clean the best way you could. Then you got in line by the white room. When your turn finally came, they'd give you a towel and you'd give them your size. They'd give you the closest thing they had to your size. If you wore size 32 shorts, they might give you a 34 or a 36, all torn and miserable. Then you dry yourself and put this stuff on. Cold cement floors, the windows all broken, the wind whistling through the windows, and the groups of people, the noises they made, the whole vulgar scene. Maybe there'd be a sissy, a black sissy. There was this one guy, they called him Chocolate Bar. He had a joint that was maybe 20 inches long. It looked like a snake. And he would squeeze his legs together so his hair would form like a cunt in the front. And then in back, there'd be this long thing like a tail dangling, his joint. And he would be wiggling and swishing and singing. And all these guys would be saying, "Say, baby, say, beautiful, say, honey, boy, I'd sure like to have some of that. You're sure beautiful, gal." All this sickening shit. Guys looking at you, animals. There are guys that lift weights. They got all kinds of muscles, and they're flashing and posing and trying to prove something, I don't know what or to who. I thought, what kinds of creatures are these? What are they trying to do? What they were doing, they'd see some guy that was young and tender looking, and they were trying to impress him. They were trying to get him hot. Can you imagine a bunch of men trying to make another man hot and make this little kid want them rather than some big spook or some double ugly Southerner? Then you'd see other guys just terrified, guys with pimples all over their backs, people with big scars and horrible deformities. And you're there, and there you are. And then some asshole purposely rubs up against you. And you had to run and be like an animal just to get a shower. You had to act like the animals in order to make it. They only left the water on a little while, so you had to fight. And once you got soap on you, you had to push and to touch a male body. It's the most sickening thing in the world. But you had to push them out of the way to get into the shower because you had these guys that thought they were real tough, and they'd stand right in the middle. You were taking your life in your hands. They had fights all the time. And the guards were standing up on the walkway with rifles trained on the showers. The dregs of humanity, boy, that's what they are. The only thing I can liken it to is when I was in the army in England and France, the American soldiers. They were ordinary people that you'd see on the streets at home. They had mothers and fathers, and they were just human beings that go to church and are polite, actual humans that can get on a bus and pay the fare, transact business. And I saw them overseas screaming at women pushing baby carriages. "Hey, baby. Hey, you fine-assed, high-cunted bitch. Hey, baby, how'd you like to suck on my big cock, you beautiful motherfucker, you?" That's how they talked, and that's what they did. And it was the same in San Quentin. I thought, am I one of these? I thought, here I am again. Only it was worse because I was locked up. I wanted to kill them all. I thought if I just had a knife or a gun or some poison gas. I realized I couldn't stand the way I felt during those first few showers. I realized if I stayed like that, I wouldn't make it. I'd kill somebody or get killed and never get out. I'd never, ever be able to play again. I'd never be able to get up in the morning and go for a walk. Never see happiness and beauty. Never have any loved ones again, any love at all, anything decent. I'd never be able to feel the warmth of a woman's body. I'd never know the companionship of a woman's love, just to be in a house with her and be able to hold her and look at her and to feel that I had the comfort and care of another human being. The pleasure of lying together, watching TV, touching one another, waking up in the middle of the night and feeling her body, her hair, having something of beauty there. I thought, I'll never make it. I would have to kill someone, or they'd have to kill me because I hated them so much. Every person. And I hated above all everybody who had a hand in putting me there, all the circumstances, there was no way to define them. I was helpless and just carried away in hatred. Can you imagine these showers twice a week? And that's all you could bathe, no matter what happened. You couldn't ever be clean at any other time because it was freezing cold water in your little cell with the filthy toilet and the tiny sink. And to be locked up from 4 in the evening until the next morning with somebody that you had no rapport with, that you despised. You could never be alone, not for 1 second. You couldn't shit alone. You couldn't piss alone. You couldn't jerk off alone. I looked around and I saw these guys laughing and others almost in trances who looked like they were just wiped out. Oh, a few of them were loaded, but very few. I wondered how they could stand it.